Well, living life as a Christian, I mean, there's ups and downs. There's a lot of humor in it. My next guest has found an outlet to be able to share his stories of marriage and life and work and the good and the bad. He's written a book called Through My Christian Prism or At the Port Rail. It's Larry. We are so glad you're here. Larry Clayton, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. Larry, go ahead and just share about generally the mission and the ministry of the book.
I was just looking at it again and enjoying the read. I wrote it for everybody. And I know an editor would just kind of gag at that and say, Clayton, who are you writing for? Are you writing for the intellectuals? Are you writing for the people who can't spell? Are you
Right.
writing for everybody? Are you writing for men, women, children?
Who's your target?
Yeah. My target is the people who read newspapers. And I realize the newspaper reading public is going down, but they transfer their habits to the internet. So, and what I'm writing about is, and I just saw this quote I had of C.S. Lewis, one of my very favorite Christian authors. He phrased it this way. He says, I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. End quote. And so I realized that in my Christian walk, which was slow, and it wasn't kind of, on December the 30th, 1987, all of a sudden flashed, and I was knocked over, and I was babbling away, and there I was. It was a slow process, which is, I think, what many of us go through. And I realized that I was writing about the world for these articles in the Tuscaloosa News, and then for other newspapers. I've got Christian Science Monitor and the LA Times. I've done op-eds for them too. Was taking the experiences I am going through and filtering them through, not always, but often through the Christian matrix, the Christian culture, whatever you want to call it. Like Good Times. The very first article in here is Good Times. And why did I write about good times? Because so often pastors and preachers preach about everything that's wrong with us, and everything that's wrong with the world, and you got to get with it. And I understand that. Yeah. But there's life is meant to be enjoyed, and I talked about some good times, things that people that like to ski. I don't know if you're a skier, going down a slope, 50 miles an hour. And coming out at the end in one piece. That's a good time.
That's a miracle.
Yeah. And I had a pilot's license. I guess I still do. I just don't use it anymore because I'm getting past the age of being, feeling competent. Right. But coming through weather, in a little plane through the clouds and bouncing around, and all of a sudden, boom! There's the runway where it's supposed to be. Well, that's a good time, That's better there than not having the runway where it's supposed. That's such a little dramatic moments. Your child, taking care of your child, and having them gurgle and everything, or your dog lick them on the face. There's a lot of good things that happen in our life, and we tend to focus because we have to overcome the bad. So, and I write about those as well. I write about war, and the politics, and how I filter them through not always a Christian matrix, but my experience. And so that's what it's about. It's a little bit of everything. I've enjoyed writing about some of the titles here of the chapters are politics, law and authority, Christianity and history. Well, is Christianity different from history? Is the Bible not history? No, the Bible is history, and it needs to be explained not only as the Word of God, but as history that can be studied.
Larry, it seems like you see life in stories. I mean, and we all, if we just stop for a moment and we don't take the attitude of, oh, life is happening to me, we can maybe appreciate it and see and write our narrative in the way that you are, in appreciation in those little moments, in those pieces. And that's really an important, beautiful way to look at it. It's it's a way to explore our problems and our challenges through new lenses.
Yeah, no, you're very right, and it doesn't have to be a complicated lens, one that's ultra sophisticated that none of us can understand.
Right.
It can be a simple, like relationships in a marriage. How do you preserve a marriage? Well, you have to sacrifice. You have to just give up. No, you don't.
Right.
There's all sorts of ways you can enjoy everything. It's good. And I'm in a little seminar that meets once a week now. I didn't organize it. A friend of mine did. And it's a unity seminar on race. And we have about 15 to 20 men. We haven't quite gotten to recruiting a girl yet, or a woman. I think we're a little afraid of that. And we talk about race. And we're about half black and half white. And it's fascinating because one of the themes is that relationships destroy racism. And we start talking about things that oftentimes we don't talk among a black, describing what it's like to be stopped by a white policeman.
Right. Sure. We haven't experienced that. Right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. What does he expect?
Right.
And for us, who are not black, white, it gives us an insight, and we learn from each other, and we like each other. We don't always like what the other one's saying, and we're very, very clear about that. We have the DA who's a member of our group. He says, a lot of you guys really don't like me. He says, yeah, you're right, but that's okay. You're here, and we like you here. Okay? And so you learn from these experiences, Suzanne.
Absolutely. You can see the truth for what it is, subjectively, objectively, and you can also examine the past and history truthfully without emotion.
Yeah. No, the truth is so important. At the end of the interview, if you want to call it that, the interrogation that Pontius Pilate had with Jesus on Thursday night, before the crucifixion, Pontius Pilate just threw his hands up. If you remember reading about it, I sometimes say, if you remember about it, and most people won't do what else. I say, no, I don't remember it. I'm not 2,000 years old. I know,
right.
but I remember reading about it. Threw his hands up, and because the Jews were accusing him of apostasy, of being God. He said, you're God, and there's only one God, and we want you crucified. And Pontius Pilate, the governor, the Roman governor, says, this guy hasn't done anything. And then he goes, what is truth? What is truth?
Yeah.
In other words, is it your truth? Is it my truth? Is it somebody else's truth? Can truth have so many different meanings? And this leads to examining the past. What is true about the past? What did people in the Ku Klux Klan really believe?
Right.
They're all, blah, 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 blah. And so, were they any better than the ones who subscribe to Black Lives Matter,
right.
and the racism that's inherent in that? And so history is fascinating. History is always changing. And you go, history's not changing. Julius Caesar was murdered on 44 BC by his fellow senators in the floor of the Senate. And remember, one of them stabbing him, Brutus, and the famous words are, "Et tu, Brutus? You too? Yeah, me too. You're a dictator." And Putin should actually read that about being a dictator. But anyhow,
wow. Yeah.
History does not treat dictators very nicely, and then you have to examine why is that, and then even more important, how do we learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
Some very famous historians have said, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. That can be our own experience. Our experience in marriage. Many of us have been married more than once, and the idea of me being married twice when I was growing up, divorce was a terrible thing.
Sure.
You were really an outcast, and now you have to talk about it, and it's fun. And the best thing about it, and I'll stop here because I always say I'm a teacher in college, and I'm programmed to talk for 50 minutes, and you don't want that. And the best thing about it is that the real truth, the one that's fundamental and that you can't change, is in the Bible. Yeah. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed since it was written down by the Jews and the early Christians, 2,000 and 2,500 years ago. And you have to interpret it. Somebody says, well, what does it say about global warming? It doesn't say squat about global warming or oil production, but it does say something about conserving the world that you have inherited and that you're in charge of. Do something good with it. Don't destroy it. Or use it for as long as you don't hurt, and then so you can really get a good conversation going.
Yeah.
If you'll allow the kids in the classes and the seminars to kind of to be a little
part of the conversation. Yeah.
To contribute and let them know that you're not going to sock them because they said something stupid.
Sure.
My hand would have been long gone banish people who said something stupid. But
Larry,
I've always treated my students with courtesy,
yeah,
even though I may be looking at them with like, did you say that?
yeah. This is an amazing way to be able to witness to people in the world in a very real way that's just very non-judgmental and real and raw and transparent. You're sharing the word of Christ in a way that's, right with them. And that's how Jesus did it.
Exactly. I've
It's
got a guy
important.
right now who said and done things. He's an oddball, and I was really angry a couple of days ago, and then I remembered Matthew 5. Sorry, I'm just eating
That's okay.
an ice.
Okay.
Matthew 5, and Matthew 5 is like Luke 6. It's the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, and blessed are the peacekeepers. And if somebody injures you and takes your coat or something, give them the other one.
Right.
And turn the other cheek. And you go, okay, I understand that theory, but that doesn't really work.
Right.
But Jesus did not speak in metaphors necessarily. He was speaking the truth as he understood it.
Yeah.
And so I had to forgive this guy, and I told my wife, I said, okay, I forgive him of everything. And she goes, and? Well, except for. She
right,
goes,
right.
That you're not playing fair.
Yeah.
And she's a pastor, and she knows the word better than I do, but I can pull the word on her too. And so you have to work at it every day. I don't want to preach here, but I read the Bible every day. I don't read a lot. I read just one book.
Yeah.
I'm reading Joshua 1 today.
Okay.
And Joshua 1, oh, that's a great book. Joshua is, and you two each one of you has a role in the mission in this. And you say, well, I'm just a garbage collector, or I'm just an insurance salesman, or I'm just a housewife in a poor part of America, and all I'm doing is just struggling. I say, but each one of you is blessed if you accept Jesus.
Absolutely.
And he will take care of you in every way. And you go, in every way? I said, name me a way in which he won't take care of you.
That's right. Right.
Well, I want to get rid of this. Then pray over it and work on it. And make sure you're walking in the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry, we have got to wrap this up. Unfortunately, I'm short on time. Where can people get your book? Through My Christian Prism or at the Port Rail?
They can get it at Amazon, Books, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any one of the big booksellers.
Okay.
And you can get a Kindle edition. You can get a paperback for a couple of bucks. And if you like Kindle or any of the other online ways of reading it, it's available in all those versions.
Okay, great. And people can get a hold of you how?
Can do what?
How can people get a hold of you?
Oh, easy. I've got I've got a web. I've got a site called www.la. My initials are Lawrence Anthony, and then Clayton, and then .com.
Wonderful.
LAClayton.com, and that'll take you to my blog, and my blog is full of all this stuff, including the book. And I think in some of these books, I actually have it where you can just go to it electronically. You don't even have to buy it.
I love it. Larry, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.